Alright, so I wanted to do a quick update on the 125 gallon show tank that's in progress. I know it doesn't look really showy yet, but we're getting there. So let me kind of take you in and show you what we're doing. This is a day after the live stream. It was really cloudy yesterday, but most of it settled out. I have a ton of filter floss just totally jammed into the baffle or the weir on this side and the other side. So that's kind of helping to suck out the ooh, we're way zoomed in. How'd that happen? Suck out the particulates. I've also got a Fluval FX5 on this sucker, doing a good job. So here's how I'm starting the cycle. Is I'm using blackworms, a bunch of blackworms in here. Here's a pile of them on an algae pellet. I've also got a bunch of snails in here and a bunch of scuds or amphipods in here. So basically I went into the, I culture blackworms, snails, and amphipods in separate aquarium, and I just went and grabbed a bunch of them and grabbed a bunch of like the mulm from the bottom, which you can see here, and threw it in here to introduce some life into the tank, to get some, waste products going, get the cycle going. These mops are in here from a spawning tank because they're just full of nitrifying bacteria, basically. They came from a very well-established breeding tank. So I threw them in here to get some bacteria into this thing. In addition to these algae pellets here, I also feed, this is some fruit. So this is mango. Cantaloupe rinds work really well as well. But here's some mango, and you can see the blackworms just kind of burrowing their way into it. The snails and amphipods snack on it too. And then over here, here's another piece. So you've got snails and blackworms and amphipods all chowing down on that. And then over here is one more little piece. So basically the goal is to get things eating, get things thriving. And I like to get a bunch of critters going in the tank before I throw fish in it if I can. One great thing about blackworms is, I don't know if you can see them, but they're sticking up all over the sand. So they'll burrow into the sand. Here's kind of a good shot, I hope. If I can get it to focus. Sorry, let's try this. This is a little difficult, but yeah, it's hard to get it to focus. But anyway, they're burrowing down into the sand and kind of just their, I don't know if it's their head or their tail, but one end of them is just sticking out of the sand. And that is helping keep the sand alive, so it doesn't get too much anaerobic bacteria buildup in things, although that will happen. So occasionally I'll go through with a piece of pipe and just stir up this sand so that I don't get a bunch of anaerobic bacteria. Once I get fish in here, I'll put some sand sifters or burrowers or something like that in here just to keep the sand kind of constantly stirred up. Another thing to help jumpstart the cycle here is a bunch of Java moss, which I pulled out of the Kohaku koi swordtail tank. They have a ton of Java moss there and in their tank, so I pulled some out. That was to give a food source to the amphipods so they can graze off of it, and also because it'll be teeming with beneficial bacteria and nitrifying bacteria. And then up top, I put in some water sprite that was covered with snails, just pulled that out of one of the other tanks, and that will help to cycle the tank as well. So that'll help control on any really bad spikes of ammonia or nitrite. But I'm going slow, so I don't expect anything real bad. But also, it just is full of, every surface in here is covered with nitrifying bacteria. In the back there's this planter. It has pea gravel in it. There's some blackworms in there chowing down on a algae wafer. But it's a layer of pea gravel and then a layer of fluorite and then a layer of pea gravel on top of that. And that's what I'm going to put the stem plants in probably tomorrow. The stem plants are in a plant quarantine tank with a whole bunch of scuds that are eating any algae off of it, any undesirable critters off of it, and kind of cleaning the plants up for me. So that's where we're at. Everything's running pretty smoothly. I've got the filtration kind of dialed in as far as the amount of flow and things like that. One thing that I'm experiencing is on the top, because I have a bunch of filter floss jammed into that weir there, the top of this thing, the surface of the water isn't broken up a lot. So I'm afraid I'm going to end up with some surface scum. So I might need to drop an air stone into the tank just to prevent that from happening. Or when I remove that filter floss, that would do it too, because then the water comes out at a high enough clip with enough force to kind of break up the surface tension of the water. So there we are. It's on the way. It's coming. And slow and steady. Again, I just like to cycle with critters instead of with fish. Snails and blackworms and scuds can take really high amounts of ammonia, nitrite, at least as compared to fish. And then I get this nice living thing going before I put the fish in, and the fish just end up with all this live food in here to chow down on when they are introduced to their new home. So that's kind of the strategy. That's what's going on. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope you like this update. Bye-bye.